You are now tuned in to the PPC podcast. Subscribe now for more exclusive content.
What would you say to landlords, for
Okay.
example, for buy-to-let mortgages and that sort of stuff?
But landlords are getting a lot more diverse with how they're doing things. So before COVID, before 2019, everybody was thinking rates are cheap and it's I could buy 2, 3, 4 group portfolios quite quickly. The rates have all gone up, and the house price is steadying off, has meant that it's squeezed their margins, which is why it's caused the knock-on effect on the rents going up. Ultimately, landlords that have bought privately have done so because they haven't done it out of charity. They've done it because they want to make a profit. And they're not, I think landlords get a bad rap. Ultimately, if I was running any business, whether it's renting a house out or selling goods, if my costs gone up, then my price has to go up.
100%.
And it's the same for landlords. Their costs have gone up. And if the renter wants to have a sustainable house, then the landlord's going to need to have to afford that, and therefore there is a knock-on effect. And with the margin, because of the taxation and the way that they're taxed on it as well, there's not as much profit in it as people think. And landlords, I would think, need to be maybe a little bit more aware of: am I doing this for the monthly gain, or am I doing this for the longer term gain? As in, am I buying a house that's going to be worth a little bit more? So come 5, 10, 15, 20 years when I go to unload them, has it made me more money? Is that my aim? And I'm quite happy to break even, or make a teeny tiny bit of profits. There's enough in the pot so I can maintain the property, do all the other things.
100%. I think that's a great point as well. I think landlords, yes, they definitely do get a bad rap. I think most of the time, especially with the thing that they're looking to do with renters reform bill and that sort of stuff, it's more about the quality of the landlord and the work they're actually doing. Whether they're actually working in favour for their tenants, or if they're literally just there to pick up the money. When your tenants are calling, you're not picking up the phone. And those sort of things. I know obviously in Portsmouth you've got HMO additional licensing, which is trying to get rid of those rogue kind of landlords who are trying to capitalise and just make money rather than actually thinking about the welfare of the tenants. And I think it's the combination of both. Yes, rents are going up, but then there's a lot of tenants who are unhappy with the way they're being treated by landlords. It's that balance.
What we've also got to accept, if we accept that tenants need protection, so you get your gas safety, electric safety, your regular inspections on the property, and the maintenance and all the rest of it, which are the costs that generally seem to be forgotten about. Because yes, the rent might be £1,000 a month, and the mortgage for the landlord could be £500 a month. But when they're paying their accountancy, they got to pay their tax, they got to pay, and all the other various bits and bobs, and the maintenance of the property on a regular basis. If it's empty for a period of time, there's lots of other things to consider. So it needs to make sure that it's working out for them. And whether or not then the landlord then thinks to themselves, am I happy with it breaking even? Or am I doing this for the long-term gain? So when the house is now worth, for argument's sake, 200,000, but in 5, 10, 15, 20 years when I want to let go of it, it's worth 300, 400,000 or whatever it might be. Are they doing it for that? Or are they doing it for, I want to really try and maximise it per month for me? So what are they looking to do? Now, interestingly, we saw the average portfolio size of a landlord increase. But I think that's because your accidental landlord, i.e. somebody that's just inherited a property and decided to let it out, or a couple that have moved into one house and let the other one out. They're still about and they'll still happen. But I think the people that had only bought one or two and got early into it and were struggling then maybe to get the next one, because what we'd seen a lot of landlords do before was buy, sell, flip it, get the money out of it, then buy more, do the same, maybe rent one or two out and grow their portfolio that way. House prices aren't going up. House prices have dipped ever so slightly. So they can't rely on that same growth. The cost to them for the renovations, because of the cost of materials, has gone up. So there's less of that. And over 2023, we didn't really see any movement in the buy-to-let world because the rates were going up, which was really chewing hard into any profit that there was for a buy-to-let landlord. lo and behold, over the last few years, what we've started to see is much more HMO business, much more looking into student lets, social housing lets,
service accommodation.
Yeah, massive. And even letting to the commercial sector, so getting employees finding houses for them, and converting the high streets that are going out of fashion, but converting those into more resis, make more units that way. So they're getting smarter, but I think it's more of the investors that have been in it for a while, that have been lucky enough that have seen all the growth since house prices have gone up in 2010, 2015 and so on. And they've grown their portfolios. And because the equity within their portfolio is larger, what we find is when you get the landlords that have had one or two properties that now need to sell to get out because they're stuck with these high rates, maybe even making a loss each month. So the more experienced landlords go, yep, we'll take that. Yep, we'll take that. And it means that their portfolios are grown. And also because they're buying a big house, chopping it up. Now I've got more lets. It's just to be in a bit smarter. But the good news is there is many different ways now to go at the buy-to-let market, rather than you can still do your standard ones. There's still money to be made there because of the large rents that you're getting. Mortgages have gone up, but so have the rents. And I would say that the rents prices going up has exceeded the amount that the rates have gone up. So your margin is actually slightly more nowadays. The appetite for lending is a bit tricky because on mortgages, what they class as the lenders class as the stress rate has increased. So while you might say pay 4 or 5% on the mortgage, the lender's stressing it at 6-7%. But then they're also adding in 25% to allow for rental voids, maintenance, agents' fees as well. So it means that meeting those stress tests means that the lending's a little bit harder, but it has got easier since 2023 to now, as the lenders are adjusting as much as the market is adjusting. But now it's all cooling off. I don't think it'll go back to where it was prior the rate rises. But I do think we'll start to see a more healthy but more diverse landlords buy-to-let portfolio.
That leads on great into the next point.